As a self-taught programmer, I realized pretty early on that one of my main advantages, other than saving money, would be being able to basically create my own specific curriculum. Now, unfortunately, progress was very slow for the first 2 years for me because I was kind of still locked into a more traditional style or approach to learning new topics, which you will probably run into in post-secondary and school in general. So in this particular video, what I want to talk about are the two most important skills, as far as I'm concerned, for a developer to develop regarding how to learn faster and apply concepts that you've just learned in working applications. So in this video, I'm going to give you one tip which should help you to support both of those critical success factors at the same time. Stay tuned because this might actually be one of the most useful videos I ever give you. In this particular video, I'm going to be talking to you about following a project-based learning approach. Now, I'll get to explaining that in a moment, but it's important that I talk about the learning approach which you are probably following right now, or at least you're more used to. At least that was how I approached things as a beginner myself. When I first started studying Java back in 2013, my first idea to master it was to compile a master list of every topic and language feature and then to try and learn them sequentially. Now, this actually turned out to be a huge mistake for a number of reasons, which we'll get into now. So, reason number one is that outside of learning the most simple concepts in computing, you can't actually effectively learn programming topics in isolation. Now, I'm sure everyone who's watching this who's spent any significant amount of time studying programming has found that most teachers will explain even basic concepts with an explosion of jargon and assumed knowledge and nested definitions. This creates a situation where you try to learn one topic, and then in order to explain that topic, your teacher has basically introduced 5 new jargon terms or nested definitions, which you must first learn in order to figure out the first definition, and then it just kind of, expands out from there. So that is sort of a huge mistake that I made early on. All right, that brings me to reason number 2, which is that even if you can regurgitate a good theoretical definition of a tool or concept, if you haven't spent time writing applications beyond the scale of hello world, then you're going to be lacking the practical knowledge in order to actually implement these new concepts and tools in your code, which is, for most of us, the sort of end goal. To give an analogy, it's kind of like learning to design a structure, the foundation of a structure on paper. Structure is in something like this, versus being able to actually build it. You can make the best design or definition in the world if you really want to, but that means very little if you don't know how to basically grab a shovel and learn how to mix some fucking concrete. Anyways, the key to avoiding this simultaneous overload of jargon and a lack of practical coding experience is to follow what I call a project-based learning approach. So what do I mean by that? Well, let me first start by just telling you a quick story. About a year ago, I decided that I wanted to start writing my Android applications almost exclusively in the Kotlin programming language. Now, obviously, I wasn't using the language to its full extent at this particular point, but I was able to write a simple but functional Kotlin Android app in under 3 weeks and learn the basic fundamentals of the new language. Now, if you're an absolute beginner, you shouldn't necessarily be expecting to be competent that quickly in a new language. Obviously, there was a lot of carryover from my Java knowledge, which Kotlin is a JVM-based language. However, the principle still stands. The first thing I did is I actually built a project and made that kind of my main focus. Now, whatever your language or platform, I want you to pick a project which you would like to build and to start building it. Now, instead of going through like a laundry list of topics like I talked about before, learn what you need to learn relevant to the application you're building. Don't worry about it being perfect. It's not going to be. Just try to make it something that you can compile and run. The first application I built was a workout log, and I chose that because at the time my favorite thing to do was hit the weights. Now, if you're still stuck and you're not really sure, I don't know, I don't really like anything and I'm not sure what kind of app I want to build, then I would suggest for starters, if you're an absolute beginner, just build a basic calculator, because that's going to show you how to handle user input and you're not going to have to worry too much about managing state. Now, once you can build the calculator application, then I would suggest doing something like a note-taking application or a to-do list, which will require that knowledge of learning background data persistence, such as a local or remote database. Now, you might be kind of wondering, why is this so much more effective than learning things in a laundry list style approach? So there's a couple of reasons, but the main reason is that I want you to consider the difference between saying, I need to learn this topic because it's one of the topics on my list, or saying, I need to learn this new topic because if I learn this new topic, it's going to help me solve a problem in my application. So that sort of lasting interest, or focused interest actually, is sort of intrinsic to this approach. Now, the other sort of side benefit of this is that you're going to actually remember the concept deeper and better, because you will actually have a representation of it in something concrete, like one of your applications. So this is not only going to help you focus your learning quicker, but it's also going to help you retain and understand the material at hand. So the approach I just talked about can basically help developers of any level, and it's something which applies to domains far greater than just programming. But in any case, there's actually one more thing I wanted to mention to the beginner developers watching this video. So if you're a more seasoned developer, you can basically ignore this next part if you like. It's not really directed towards you, but this is kind of a call to action for the beginners, and a very critical piece of advice. So, if you're a beginner watching this and you haven't done so already, I want you to register with a revision control system. So probably GitHub. If you're wondering at all what to do, just pick GitHub, but there are other options out there such as Bitbucket. So in a nutshell, a revision control system is a place where you host copies or snapshots of your project source code online. So when I start my application, I'll have a snapshot of all the code there, and then in maybe a week or so, I will upload a new snapshot, and then in another week I will upload a new snapshot, and you start to have this buildup of progressions over the application you're building. So other than the fact that that is enormously practically useful, the thing that's really going to support you as a junior developer is that I want you to take the project I was talking about before, either the calculator or the note-taking app or whatever you chose, and I want you to put it on GitHub or some kind of revision control system. That application is going to be used by you as part of your portfolio so that you can get hired as a junior developer. Again, I'm not fucking around here for you newbies. If you want to get hired, register with a revision control system such as GitHub and learn its basics. I've spoken to so many different first, second, and even third year programming students who are way more academically qualified than me, who complain that they can't get work. When I ask them if they have any repositories hosted online, the typical response is, no. Now, it's not your fault if your college or university didn't explain to you that literally like every programming company ever uses revision control, but this is seriously the main reason for not getting a callback. A lot of companies don't really care so much about your academic credentials versus the fact that you need to be able to write application quality code. That was something that I was really good at despite having a lack of academic credentials, and I've even made it as far as turning down work as a developer. So anyways, hopefully that information was useful for you. Go write some code. Thanks for watching, and peace out. If you have questions about Android, Kotlin, software architecture, or just programming in general, then leave me a question down below and I might just get back to you in the next video. If you enjoyed this content, do me a favor and hit the like button down below. Consider subscribing, following me on your preferred social media platforms, and even throwing me a couple bucks on PayPal or Patreon. Links in the description box below. Thanks for watching, and peace out.